For more than 20 years, Graham Norton has ruled British talk shows with effortless charm. His quick humor, warm smile, and fearless jokes turned awkward silences into magic. Millions tuned in every weekend just to see his red sofa light up with laughter. But behind the shine of show business hides a truth few ever think about. Not every guest brings easy stories, joy, or good energy to the couch. Some interviews tested Norton's patience more than anyone realized. And now, looking back at 62, he quietly reflects on those nights. Nights where even he felt the weight of live television pressing down. One of the most unforgettable evenings came in 2013 during a star-packed lineup. Michael Fassbender, Sarah Silverman, and Mark Wahlberg shared the iconic sofa. The episode was expected to be smooth, lively, and full of jokes. But from the moment Wahlberg appeared, something felt slightly unusual. His confidence seemed louder, his energy more unpredictable than normal. The audience laughed at first, assuming he was just having fun. But beneath the humor, the tone slowly shifted into something tense. Even Norton sensed the rhythm slipping out of his hands. Wahlberg kept interrupting stories, jumping in with jokes at odd moments. Fassbender tried speaking, only to be cut off mid-sentence repeatedly. Sarah Silverman shared a story, yet Wahlberg leaned over her playfully. The crowd didn't know whether to laugh or stare in confusion. It wasn't hostile, just overwhelmingly chaotic for a calm show format. Norton kept steering the conversation back, trying to steady the flow. But every minute felt like walking on an unpredictable wave. It became a night viewers talked about for years afterward. Then came the moment that cemented the episode's chaotic reputation. Wahlberg wandered over and casually sat on Norton's lap mid-conversation. The audience burst into uneasy laughter at the unexpected move. Norton handled it with professional calm, smiling through the surprise. It was a moment of pure live television unpredictability. Afterward, the clip went viral across social media platforms. Some fans found it hilarious, others felt secondhand embarrassment. Norton later admitted the night drained more energy than anyone knew. On the opposite end of chaos came an interview with Robert De Niro. De Niro, known for being private, brought his quiet personality with him. From the moment he sat down, he seemed thoughtful but distant. Norton tried humor, gentle teasing, even nostalgia-filled questions. But De Niro responded with brief, careful answers every time. There was no conflict, just two very different energies on one stage. Norton called it one of the toughest interviews of his career. Not because of attitude, but because of silence. Norton once said interviewing De Niro felt like lifting a heavy stone uphill. He admired the actor deeply but struggled to break the barrier. The show thrives on fluid conversation, shared laughter, and warm spontaneity. De Niro thrived instead on stillness, simplicity, and quiet expression. The mismatch created an unusual tension that viewers immediately noticed. Yet despite the challenge, Norton handled it with respect and patience. His professionalism made the episode memorable in its own way. It became a reminder of how different personalities shape interviews. Another episode that aged strangely involved Harvey Weinstein. Long before the world learned the full truth about him, he appeared on the show. Even then, the energy shifted the moment he sat on the red sofa. Weinstein spoke loudly, confidently, and dominated every conversation. Norton tried redirecting the tone, but the balance never returned. The other guests appeared uncomfortable as the atmosphere thickened. It wasn't a meltdown, just a heavy, unsettling presence. Later events gave the moment an eerie, reflective weight. Norton later said the interview felt off from the very beginning. He didn't know why at the time, only that something didn't fit. Years later, people revisited the clip with a chilling sense of hindsight. What once felt like arrogance now seemed like a warning in plain sight. The audience back then sensed the discomfort but couldn't explain it. The rhythm of Graham's normally warm show never settled that night. It became one of those episodes people rarely rewatch today. A moment where television unknowingly brushed against darkness. Then there was Mickey Rourke, whose appearance felt like a whisper. Unlike chaotic guests, Rourke arrived quiet, distant, almost ghost-like. He gave short answers, soft responses, and long pauses between thoughts. Norton tried sparking conversation through film references and gentle jokes. But Rourke remained emotionally somewhere far away. There was no conflict, no rudeness, just a deep disconnect. Producers later said even Norton couldn't pull him into the moment. The interview drifted like a slow-moving tide with no direction. Each question Norton asked seemed to land softly without echo. Rourke nodded politely but rarely expanded on anything. The audience felt the weight of each pause as seconds stretched. It became one of the quietest episodes in the show's history. Norton later shared that silence can be more exhausting than chaos. Because with silence, the host must fill every empty space alone. Rourke didn't mean harm, he simply wasn't in the spotlight mood. The interview became a study in how presence shapes conversation. Another guest that challenged Norton differently was Kevin Costner. Costner wasn't difficult, just overly serious for Norton's playful format. He answered every question with calm precision and straight posture. While the show dances on spontaneity, Costner brought quiet gravity. His tone felt more suited to a press conference than a comedy show. The other guests tried to lighten the mood with laughter and jokes. Costner smiled politely but didn't join the playful energy. The result was a respectful but oddly stiff episode. Norton later said some guests simply don't understand the show's rhythm. It thrives on looseness, overlapping stories, and unpredictable laughter. Costner preferred structured conversation, measured thoughts, and calm clarity. Neither approach was wrong, they simply clashed under studio lights. The audience sensed the gap growing wider as the minutes passed. Even Norton seemed relieved when the segment finally wrapped. It wasn't unpleasant, just quietly mismatched. A night where professionalism overpowered fun. But perhaps the most patience-testing interview of Norton's career involved Daryl Hannah. She arrived calm, polite, but completely unengaged from the start. Her answers were short, quiet, and offered no hooks to continue. Norton tried shifting topics, changing tone, even joking softly. But nothing seemed to draw her into the conversation. The other guests grew visibly tense as the silence deepened. It wasn't disrespect, it was simply disconnection. Yet for Norton, it became one of the longest nights ever. By mid-interview, Norton was doing everything to keep the show alive. He shifted attention to other guests just to rebuild momentum. The audience laughed nervously, trying to ease the tension themselves. But the distance on the sofa remained unmistakably heavy. Later, Norton said he felt like he was pulling the show uphill. It wasn't anger, just the pure exhaustion of carrying every word alone. The clip rarely airs today due to its uncomfortable quietness. But fans who remember it still mention the tension. Through all these years, Norton has learned something profound. Talk shows look fun and easy, but they rely heavily on chemistry. When a guest brings energy, the laughter flows effortlessly. But when someone brings silence or chaos, everything shifts instantly. Norton's gift has always been adapting to whatever comes his way. Yet even he admits some nights left emotional bruises. The public sees the laughter, never the pressure beneath. And that is the secret burden of great hosts. Norton often says his show works only because people genuinely want to be there. When enthusiasm is missing, the entire rhythm collapses like a weak bridge. He doesn't blame difficult guests, everyone has off days. He simply reflects on how unpredictable live television can be. Some guests bring storms, others bring silence. Both extremes challenge a host more than viewers realize. But Norton faced each moment with grace, humor, and professionalism. Even when the energy on set slipped from his control. Over decades, Norton has learned to read the room instantly. He can sense discomfort, tension, or disinterest within seconds. Sometimes, he redirects conversation to lighter topics. Other times, he relies on other guests to inject laughter. This balance is what keeps the show beloved around the world. It's never about perfection, it's about emotional flow. Yet even with all his skill, a few nights still haunt him. Nights where charm wasn't enough to save the moment. Some viewers revisit these difficult interviews for curiosity. They watch Wahlberg's chaotic energy with amused disbelief. They study De Niro's silence as a lesson in personality contrasts. They sense the tension around Weinstein with chilling hindsight. They feel the emptiness of Rourke's distant presence. They notice the stiffness in Costner's calm seriousness. And they remember the quiet disconnect of Daryl Hannah. Each clip holds a different kind of discomfort. But Norton never speaks of these moments with bitterness. He treats them as part of the unpredictable art of conversation. A talk show is a living thing shaped by mood, timing, and personality. Some nights bloom into unforgettable magic. Others wilt under awkward pauses and mismatched energies. Yet both kinds of nights taught him valuable lessons. Lessons about patience, empathy, and adaptability. Lessons only a veteran host can understand. Norton says the key is to never blame the guest. Everyone carries unseen stories, stress, or quiet worries. Sometimes people show up tired, anxious, or simply disconnected. Live TV doesn't pause for emotion, it keeps moving forward. And so must the host, even with a smile masking the strain. Those challenging interviews made him stronger as a performer. They sharpened his instincts and tested his resilience. They shaped the host he became over 20 years. Despite these tough moments, the show's legacy remains unmatched. Countless episodes burst with laughter, chemistry, and joyful chaos. Moments where actors bonded, musicians joked, and guests shined. Clips went viral not for awkwardness, but for genuine connection. These highlights overshadow any difficult nights Norton faced. Fans remember the joy far more than they remember the tension. And Norton himself focuses on the magic, not the misfires. Because that magic is what made the show iconic. The difficult guests didn't damage the show, they defined its humanity. They reminded viewers that celebrities are imperfect people too. They showed how hard hosting truly is behind the humor. They revealed Norton's patience, grace, and remarkable composure. They highlighted the fragility of live conversation. And they became quiet lessons hidden beneath bright lights. In the end, even the toughest interviews became part of the story. A story built over 2 decades of unforgettable television. Now, when fans rewatch old clips, they see more than entertainment. They see a host navigating storms with gentleness and wit. They see the struggle behind forced smiles and nervous laughs. They see moments where Norton saved the show with one joke. And they see moments where even he couldn't shift the energy. This contrast is what makes the show feel real, not scripted. It's the charm of imperfection that keeps viewers hooked. Every awkward moment makes the successes shine brighter. Graham Norton's journey is a lesson in human connection. It proves that no amount of fame guarantees easy conversation. It shows that chemistry is unpredictable and fragile. It reminds us that great hosts work harder than audiences realize. Yet despite every challenge, Norton created a space of warmth. A place where stories unfold naturally and laughter finds its way. Where vulnerability, humor, and unpredictability intertwine. And where even silence becomes part of the narrative. So the question remains, which interview stays with you the most? Was it Wahlberg's unexpected chaos that shook the sofa? De Niro's legendary quietness that pushed tension higher? Weinstein's unsettling presence that aged with new meaning? Mickey Rourke's distant calm that left the show breathless? Kevin Costner's stillness that froze the room in politeness? Or Daryl Hannah's silence that tested Norton's patience deeply? Share your thoughts below, and let the conversation begin.